Hello everyone, it's Professor Stewart. I was just making this last class quick hit. This is something that I've done over the last several years with both my face-to-face and online classes, just creating a little quick hit to end the semester to give you some information from the perspective of me as your professor, Professor Stewart, the perspective of just me, Sean, as a person, and then the perspective of what I've gone through in undergrad and how to help you as you traverse along your undergrad path, whether you're continuing here at Lone Star, transferring to a four-year institution, or going on to your career. So I hope you find this valuable. The first part is some valuable information in terms of how the class itself ends, and then the last part is just valuable information just for you as a student and as an adult. Take a look at this picture. You see many races, many ethnicities, genders, I'm assuming sexualities, I'm assuming social classes, even though I hate assuming and don't like assumptions. But this is what I picture your class to be. So I'm recording this for my business and professional 16-week online class, my interpersonal 16-week online class, and my interpersonal 8-week 2 online class. So 3 online classes, and it doesn't matter which class you're in. This is what I picture you guys to be. As diverse as this particular photo is, this is what I'm hoping you look like, even though I've only seen one of you, as two online students have come to my office hours. So this next slide, I just want you to relax. This is not meant to demean or degrade anyone. It's just meant to put a smile on your face as we're at the end of the semester. I love memes. I love GIFs or GIFs, if you want to call them, if you've seen through my email. So some of these might relate to you. I know they relate to me or related to me when I was in undergrad. So it's just meant to put a smile on your face. Nothing more, nothing less. And the crazy part is, some of you could probably be like, oh yeah, that's me. This is me at the bottom right, trying to save my grades. That was me my junior year at UT. The students in my face-to-face classes laughed at these. Some of them were like, oh yeah, professor, that's me. That's me. As I said before, it's just meant to put a smile on your face, nothing more, nothing less. And I see these a lot on Twitter. I see these just strolling the internet. If you look at BuzzFeed, you see them a lot there. So, as I said before, just meant to put a smile on your face. It's the end of the semester. Everyone's stress is a little lightheartedness. Never hurt anyone. So, your final exam. All chapters in the book, plus all the quick hits that you should have looked at, were supposed to look at, supposed to watch, are all fair game for the final exam. Before you take the final for this class, I would go back and listen to those quick hits if I were you. Most of them are between 5 minutes. I think the longest one is maybe 25 minutes. But you have some time. So I would try to listen to a few every day until you finish them and then take the final exam. But all quick hits and all chapters in the book are fair game. Because this is an online class, or because all 3 classes are online, your class will be taken online in D2L. So we took the Connect quizzes and the exams in Connect. The final exam is actually in D2L, and you'll see that. But if for some reason you want to come up to the University Park campus to take your exam in person, you would have to do it with me, as it's too late to send an exam to the testing center. And that would be Wednesday, May 8th from 9 to 10:50 or 11 to 12:50. And then you must complete your exam in one sitting, meaning no extra time can be given. But if you have an exemption to that or an exception to that, please let me know. All grades in the class will be posted by Tuesday, May 14th at 4 p.m. So for all 3 classes, the business and professional, the interpersonal 16-week, and the interpersonal 8-week 2, all of you have outstanding grades, meaning there's assignments that need to be graded. If I remember correctly, I gave extended due dates for several assignments in all 3 classes. But all grades must be posted, or all grades are going to be posted by Tuesday, May 14th at 4 p.m. That includes the final exam. That includes all assignment grades. It could be earlier, so that's why I say your best bet's to leave your grade alerts on in D2L, and an email or a text message will go out once I have graded something and uploaded it to D2L. But what I'll do is send out an email to the entire class with the subject line final grades, and that will signify, please open that email, but it'll signify that the class is complete. Your letter grade, please always double check this in iStar. So you'll have a numerical number grade in D2L. You always need to double check that numerical grade in D2L to the letter grade in iStar, the letter grade that goes on your transcript. I always say this because the system that we use here at Lone Star is pretty antiquated. So sometimes I can put a letter grade for one student, drop down to the next student to put their letter grade in, and then for some reason the system of the student above that student, their letter grade will be changed. So it's highly possible that some of your professors never caught this in the past. So that's why I always say double check your letter grade to the numerical grade in iStar. But keep in mind the letter grade must go through the system office, which I call the White House, that's in the Woodlands. And so they're the ones who approve everything and then put your final letter grade on your transcript. I realize some of you need this grade to transfer, so it's not, once I put the letter grade in, it's out of my hands. I've had students tell me it appeared on their transcript immediately. I had students tell me it took a couple of hours, and I've had students tell me it took a couple of days. But we've been personally told that it updates every hour on the hour. But this is the end of the spring semester, so that's going to be pretty dicey, pretty tricky. But always look out for this. And so after today, Friday, May 3rd, I'll no longer answer emails about grades unless there's some sort of discrepancy, meaning you have a 0 in the grade book, but I allowed you makeup work with the late penalty, or you turned it in, or I allowed you to email it to me and not submit it to the Dropbox because it wouldn't fit, or something along those lines. But any appropriate emails, or inappropriate emails, such as when will this be graded and can you round up my grade, those should never ever be sent to your professor, as those are inappropriate. These are my bosses. Dr. Brandybury, he's not the acting dean anymore. He's actually the dean of Behavioral and Social Sciences. His office is here at University Park. Kathy Cecil Sanchez, she's the vice president of instruction here at University Park. And Dr. Ardalan's the president here at UP. If you want to send them a note of gratitude saying Mr. Sean's awesome, he needs $1 million raise, he's a badass professor, that'd be totally cool. If you want to send them an email saying Mr. Sean sucks, he needs to be fired, I wouldn't even bother because they're just going to delete it. That was meant to be funny. Evaluations. I welcome all feedback from students. Like I told my face-to-face class, I'm an adult. I can take it. I've had students tell me certain things they wish were different about the course, and some of that I agreed with and I made the change, and some of that I did not agree with. But regardless, I welcome all feedback. If you have any questions about the class or any suggestions about future classes, please let me know. Evaluation in D2L, that's your extra credit. Number 2, so go ahead and fill that out. Free points are better than no points. You should never pass up free points, and that's one way to do that, through the evaluation. And just FYI, I cannot read the evaluations until I think it's 2 weeks after the end of the semester. So just be aware of that. Although I will say, for some students, not all, for some, it is pretty easy to see who made what comment. Rate my professor. I realize this is how students are picking their professors nowadays. I'm not sure that that's the best idea, but if you want to peruse that, maybe give me all 5s. That'd be totally cool. Let other students know, hey, it's a cool class, take it. And if you want to take me for another class, this summer I'm teaching interpersonal online, both in the May mini-mester and the summer 1 session. And in the fall, I'm teaching all 4 classes. Intro to Common Public Speaking, that'll be face-to-face, but interpersonal and business and professional online. If you want to take me, let me know. You guys are now part of a special group of people, my former students. So how that works is, if my classes are full and you want to take me for a specific class, I will always override you to get into the course. Why? Because you're a former student of mine. I want you back in the class. I don't do that for anybody else. So for a random people. If the class is full, right? But since you're the former students, I let you have that first pick, that first choice, that if you want to take me. And I'll be open and honest with you. If you want to take a speech class, but you don't want me as the professor, I don't. That doesn't offend me at all. I will tell you what classes you should take, or if you ask me who's a good professor, I'll let you know. Although I think we all have great professors here at University Park. And my fall 2019 schedule is subject to change. So a couple of fun with numbers, statistics. I hated stats class. I don't know if any of you have to take stats through psychology here at University Park. Dr. Sawyer, she teaches stats. But I hated stats. I had to take a doctoral stats class for my PhD, and my professor knew that I did not want to be there. So to help me better understand the SPSS system, which is the system in statistics that you use to spit out the data, he asked me to give him some numbers. So I did. So he asked me to come up with a hypothesis. My hypothesis was, if you take my class and you complete every assignment, there's a high chance that you will make an A or a B in the class. So he asked me to gather some data. So between fall 2011 through fall 2016, I taught about 1,200 students. 96.4%, that's the percentage of students who ended the semester with a C, D, or F who did not complete at least 2 assignments. Okay, so what that is not saying is that that's the percentage of students who ended my class with a C, D, or F. No, no, no. What that's saying is they ended the class with a C, D, or F because they did not complete at least 2 assignments. So about 98% of that 96%, those are the students who did not complete one major assignment. So regardless of which class you're in, one major assignment could have been the speech, the group project, the exams, the looking glass project, the movie analysis paper. Those are major assignments. So the first question you should ask when seeing your final grade in my class, I can't speak for other classes, but in my class is, did I complete every assignment in the course? So my hypothesis is true, that if you complete every assignment in the class, you're probably on your way to making an A or B. So now we have what I call open mic time. If you want to send me an email asking any question, open and honestly, about the class, if you want to ask why I do this in the course, why we had to do this assignment, I'm totally open to that. In my face-to-face class, there were some hilarious questions answered, I'll be honest with you. But as you see here on the screen, the most popular question I get is, why don't I give exam reviews? If you want me to answer that question, I will. All you have to do is just send an email with the title, Open Mic Question, and I'll answer your question, but I will send it to the entire class, so that allows the class to know what your question is and what my answer to that is. So for Open Mic, just send that email with the subject title, Open Mic Question, and I will get that answer to you as soon as I can. So here's what they say, and I say they meaning students. This is what I've seen on previous evaluations from students that to me stuck out. You grade too hard for a basic level community college class, and I pay your salary, so you should do what I say. And yes, these are actual comments on student evaluations that went to the dean, the vice president, and well, I don't think the president really reads them. Of course, they ignored these comments, but for that, I say that's mostly false. First things first, I'm not sure what you realize what your tuition goes for, but when you pay tuition to the college or to the university, your tuition mostly goes for maintenance of the college so that we have a place for you to come learn. So that includes stuff like paying the electric bill, making sure the university is up and running with things in the bathroom, with desks and furniture and equipment so that we have the ability to teach you in the best way possible. That's what your tuition goes to pay for. Maybe 5% of your tuition goes to my salary, if that much. So no, you really don't pay my salary, and this is not a situation in which you own me and you're able to say that I have to do what you say. That's not how that works. And as far as the comment of you grade too hard for a basic level community college class, my response to that is this. That's part of the critical evaluation process. I don't grade hard, rather I tell you what you need to do in order to improve for the next level, which goes with this particular comment as well. You could give us more positive feedback. It's all negative. When it comes to feedback and grading and critical evaluation, my response is always the same. You have to learn as a student to understand what critical evaluation is. And that's my job. My job is to critically evaluate you. My job is not to look at the assignments that you turn in and say every single time everything you turn in is an automatic A+, and there's nothing that can be improved. That is not my job. That's maybe the job of your mom or your dad, or your mom and mom, or your dad and dad. They'll say, ooh, that's my baby. Everything they do is an A+. That's their job. That's not my job. My job is to say, no, this is incorrect, but this is how you fix it. And the reason I do that is because if I did not do that, you would look at Lone Star and you would look at me as a professor as saying, we have wasted your time. Because when you get to the next level, they're going to look at you and say, who taught you these things? Or who didn't catch these things? You went to a community college and they didn't tell you that this was incorrect? You just wasted your money because now you're at the next level and you're not succeeding, whereas everyone else is. So my job isn't to look at every assignment and just say automatically everything is great, especially when it's not. My job is to get you to understand what is incorrect, how to improve that, so that the next time you have to do a similar assignment, you will know what to do to be better. I always equate it to the public speeches or the writing analysis in my classes. My job is to get you to understand this is what I need to work on with my writing, or this is what I need to work on with my public speaking, so that the next time I have to do an assignment like this, I automatically know this is what needs to be put into a speech or put into a writing document or a paper so that I don't make those same mistakes again. I was telling the intro classes the other day, if I were to just look at your speeches and say everything is A+, really good job, and you gave another speech the next time and it wasn't that good, people are going to look back and say, who did you learn to do speaking from? Professor Stewart over at Lone Star, he must not be a good professor. So you see why I am the way I am when it comes to grading. I critically evaluate you, and critical evaluation doesn't mean I hate you or doesn't mean I don't like you. It means I'm trying to prepare you to be better for the next time. So a couple of thoughts that I have for you to navigate the four-year university and just life in general. It's a couple of tips for you as a student. Rule number one, don't blame your professor for your lack of effort. And what this essentially means is if you didn't do the work, or if you didn't do the work to the best of your ability, that's not your professor's fault. You have to look at whose fault that is, and it's certainly not your professor. So if you didn't earn the grade, remember, we as professors don't give out grades. You earn your grade based on the work that you did or did not do, and then to the level that you could or could not have done too. So don't blame your professor if you did not get the grade that you thought you wanted in the class because of your lack of effort. Never email an assignment to a professor unless specifically told to do so. One of the best ways to go around this is to go to their office hours and hand deliver the assignment if it's a written assignment. But you could also communicate with the professor either face-to-face or via email and say, I did not submit this assignment because the Dropbox was closed, the due date has passed. What's the best way that I can proceed so I can possibly get credit for this assignment? Something small, just staple your papers before you turn them in. There will be library and print centers. They will have staplers. They will have paper clips, things of that nature. And typically these print centers are located in the library at the university or in various buildings in which there's a lot of high traffic. And this is something I ask my face-to-face classes to explain to me because still don't understand why this is done. I see it a lot more in online classes than face-to-face, but when you submit something to the Dropbox, for some reason you guys are writing in red and blue font, And I think the only reason that I can come up with that you may be doing this is because you're trying to differentiate the question from your answer. My response is this. We know what your answers are. We can discern what your answer is, so there's no need to write in a different color font. So if you've been that person, you didn't get points deducted, but if you've been that person, just be aware for the future. Always write in black font, no matter what. Couple more tips. Always follow instructions specifically for that professor. You know, every professor's different. I had a couple of you email me about the APA format. Remember, APA format's the most popular format, the most popular writing format in higher education across all disciplines. I know some of you are used to MLA from high school, Chicago style. Not many people really use that anymore, but it's difficult. It's hard because you do have to adjust to every professor, but that's the point of college. Unfortunately, every professor is different when it comes to that. So if Professor Stewart's APA, but your other professors, some other style, you have to adjust to what the professor wants. Every professor has different policies and expectations, and adjusting to that is a form of affinity-seeking strategies, which is strategies we use to increase our chances of being liked, just in case that might be a test question. If you ever have a question, don't be afraid to ask. I'm not sure, and I ask my face-to-face classes this too, and if you guys want to chime in with this, send me an email as well. I just don't understand why students are scared to ask questions. I think the biggest answer I keep getting back from students is that they're just embarrassed, that the professors are going to think they're dumb or they're stupid, and I can tell you right now, I am not that professor. I would rather you ask me a question of how to do something right than you just assume or not ask questions and then you get it wrong and then it'd be detrimental to your grade. When you have a question, first things first, you should always check the syllabus to see what it says. But when you ask questions, it shows that you want to be successful. It shows that to the TA, which is the teaching assistant, and to the professor that you want to be successful. A couple of ways to do this. You could always check the syllabus. Okay, the professor is going to love you if you say, I've checked the syllabus. So you could say, I've checked the syllabus, but my question's not answered there, so I'm emailing this question to you, or the syllabus says XYZ, so I'm just following your instructions from there. And then finally, if you enjoyed a professor or a class, please tell them. That means a lot to us, especially here at the community college. You guys have to keep in mind, I teach 6 classes. This semester I've taught about 130 students. I have to grade everything myself. I have to prep everything myself. I don't have teaching assistants or graduate assistants here to help me like they do at the 4-year institution. So when you say something like you enjoyed a class, that really does mean a lot. This slide is just to let you know what I believe in. College is hard. I mean, it is. It's not supposed to be easy. And I always chuckle a bit when students say I'm going to Lone Star because it's easier than blah, blah, blah. No, it's just a different college. College is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be difficult. Why? Because it's a trial run for being an adult. There are hard deadlines. The margin for error is thin. In high school, there were all these automatics. You all remember them in high school. It didn't matter what you did. Teacher was probably going to give you an A. In high school, guess what? They have to pass you. That's not how college works, right? And also keep in mind, even though you might not be able to do it, there's always others out there who can do it and could possibly do it better. So be aware that college is hard. It's difficult. It's not meant to be an easy thing. If it was, more and more people will be graduating from college, and more people will be graduating sooner from college, but you also have to consider other factors there. I'm a big believer in mental health. I think mental health is a factor when it comes to your success in the classroom. When it comes to depression, anxiety, I am your professor and I'm being open and honest with you. I suffered from depression after undergrad. I didn't know what to do, so I've been there before. It can impact your life situation, and that in and of itself can have an impact on how you do in the classroom. Some of you have family issues, such as what will I eat today? How will I pay this bill? I told you guys before, and if I didn't tell you, I'm telling you now, we've had multiple instances of that here at University Park. Some students don't know what they're eating tonight, and that's not a decision of Chick-fil-A versus Chili's. It's a decision of I just have no money to buy food. We've called multiple students sleeping on campus in their cars and parking garages because they didn't have a place to live. So this is something that we need to deal with, but it's also something we should probably swallow our pride and ask ourselves, can we get some help? How can I get help with this? And if you're in my interpersonal class, I think several of you have written about this, and you mentioned it was hard, and it is hard. It's hard to grapple with. It's hard to ask for help, but asking for help is the first step so that we can get help and be successful in the future. Finally, just a few thoughts for you. Be aware of time management. Lots of you work, you have families, but you also have due dates and deadlines for your classes. So the question is, how can we manage our time a little bit better the next time you take a college class? I'm cool with failure. I have no issue with failure. I always want to know, what did you learn from your failure? That's the key, so you don't make that same mistake again. Always be professional. That includes emails to your professors. When you send emails to your professors, you should always fill out the subject line with what the email is about. You should always start with a standard greeting. Dear Professor Stewart, dear Mr. blah, 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 dear Mrs. blah, 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 dear Dr. blah, blah, blah. And you should always end with your name. Sincerely, John. Sincerely, Mary. Sincerely, Keisha. Always be responsible for yourself and your work. I think the class that had the group project, you saw what I mean by there. Listen, you don't want other people to impact your particular grade. If you see that's going to occur, then some sort of leadership needs to take over and say, you're not going to cause me to fail this grade or this assignment or this class. I always say practice self-determination, which is just knowing that you're free to make your own decisions, but you know what the consequences are. So, for example, if you want to go on a personal vacation, that's totally fine. It's your life. God bless. You just have to understand what the consequences are. The example I always give is this. In undergrad, I took a class. I was making an A in the class. We had a test on that Friday. That weekend, my friends wanted to go to Port Aransas. I really wanted to go to Port Aransas to hang out with my friends, but I knew I had a major test. So I decided to skip the test and go to Port Aransas. There were no makeup tests in the class, so I made a 0. That caused my grade to go from an A to a low B or a high C. And I was totally cool with that. I was totally cool with that because I knew there were other major assignments in the class that were worth more in the course. When you combine them all together, that if I busted my butt on and made a good grade on it, I could raise my grade back to an A. But more importantly, I knew what taking the 0 meant. Remember, we're in college. We don't get special treatment, okay, when you practice this. But it's okay because you know what the consequences are. Finally, understanding to be mature, knowing when to have fun, but being an adult is difficult, it's hard, we all don't like it, we all want to go back to when we were little kids and your mom and your parents could take care of us. That's where I would like to go back to, but we can't. We have to be an adult. So that includes the tone in emails and how we talk to people and professors. As I said before, professionalism goes a long way. Always strive to be better. What I mean by this is I love teaching at Lone Star, but don't let this be your ceiling. I can show you research after research that shows the higher degree you get, the more money you're going to make over the course of your lifetime. And I'm not talking about thousands, I'm talking about millions. So I don't want Lone Star to be your ceiling. I want each and every one of you listening to this to go off and do great things in your career and go get your degrees. Go get your bachelor's and master's and doctorate degrees. Remember, focus on what you can control. So when I heard this by Michelle Obama, I instantly stress just went off my back, like a breath of fresh air, right? So I think we stress ourselves out, and you as students stress yourselves out over stuff that you have no control over. You have control over if you're doing the assignment correctly, if you're proofreading your assignment, if you have everything in the speech that you need to have, if you're doing your group project correctly. What you don't have control over is the grading process. So why worry about stuff like that, right? So if you just put the focus on the stuff that you can control, the stuff that's not out of your control will eventually fall into place. But finally, I'm here for you. If you need to chat, if you have life advice, you need life advice, if you want to can't decide which university to go to. I have students from all the time, from past semesters, online and face-to-face, come talk to me in my office. I have a student from 3 or 4 years ago. He comes to talk to me every so often, and we don't even talk about class. We just talk about football and working out. Um, it doesn't matter what it is. My office is 13802 here at University Park. You can text. You can come by, you can call, you can email. I am here to help you, and I always will. Your final exam will be posted later today, and you will see an email about that. But it has been a pleasure teaching you all. Y'all have taught me so much about you in general, about the course, and about life in general that I cannot thank you enough. If you ever have any question, don't be afraid to reach out.